Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another fall edition of the No Laying Up podcast. Soly here in this. I'm going to guess this is going to be our only crossover event of the entire fall. I think we are going to be passing the paternity baton here probably somewhat shortly. Joined by my guy. Welcome back to the podcast, DJ Pyhowski. Hello, Deej. How are you?
I'm doing great, Solly. Thanks for having me. Happy to be back. Through a little rehab start with the Seamsters Union on the trap draw earlier in the week, but I'm ready. I can get you at least 4 or 5 innings today. I
That's
think I'm
all you
ready to go
need
for it,
in
man.
today's game. I mean, the third
Exactly
time through
right.
the lineup, we've learned, you just get teed off on, you just lingering out there too much. But
Yeah, happy to be back. My wife and I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, Charlie. She did. I would say she gave birth.
your
She did
wife
a
did
lot of
most of the
the
birthing, is
hard
from
work.
what I
Uh,
understood.
yeah, that's exactly right. Pretty traditional in that sense. But yeah, man, we've been good. We're trying to get our feet on the ground and establish some routines with the guy who's a little ticking time bomb. Doesn't really want to get into any routines, so we're figuring it out, enjoying every second. It's good to be back.
Oh yeah, you're a month or so in. You're That's way too early for routines. All right, let's you don't set your expectations too high on that one. But when they do hit, it's freaking awesome. It's great. So
I'm ready.
that will come. Some golf from around the world. Everybody's just hanging out in Asia. What's everybody doing in Asia this week? So much going
Some
on
low-key kinda cool tournaments,
in the middle of the
like,
night.
if you
Yeah,
if yeah, like, I wouldn't say I watched a ton of them, but they're going on. I appreciate that, you know?
Congrats to them for having him for sure. Ronnie Yin wins a second title in 3 starts by one over Gino Titakun at the Maybank. The Genesis Championship in Korea. Ben On won that in a playoff over Tom Kim. You wrote in here thirsty Tom Kim, but I refuse to read that out loud.
It was a
Uh,
producer that wrote that.
Nico dang it, Echavarria. I practiced it like 5 times before went on, and I thought I was going to have it. Nico Echavarria is your winner this week on the PGA Tour at the Zozo. It did not take long. Also, the first player to win playing a new 2025 Pro V1 or Pro V1X golf ball. Also, shout out to Titleist is just now the official like ad read of the winners from around the world, because they have a winner every
Every
single
week.
freak.
Yeah.
It's cool. So Nico first tested the 25 Pro V1X at home in Jacksonville, which is also news to me. I did not know they lived in Jacksonville. A few weeks ago, while playing with Tyson Alexander, Nico forgot to bring golf balls to the course. So he borrowed a couple sleeves from Tyson, who was testing the new 2025 models, and he put it in play the next week. And this week at the Zozo with the 25 Pro V1X, he gained over 10 shots on the field from tee to green for the week. 7.9 of those came on his approach play. Also one of 28 players who have made the move to the 25V or X, with last week's official launch in Vegas marking the start to year number 25 for Pro V1. Of course, if you remember, Billy Andrade was the first to win with the Pro V1 in 2000. I went and looked up a bunch of articles from that, trying to find, like, did people know that this was going to be like a major shift? And they did not. Doug
I'm gonna guess,
Ferguson was the only one all over that one with the Pro V1 392 back in the day. But that was a fun little deep dive I did. Shallow dive. That was not a deep dive. Hoping these are going to show up in the mail very soon. I don't.
saw an email, little tracking
Okay.
coming our way, maybe some white
No,
boxes.
I don't
I'm
think you get it.
excited.
I need them very soon, okay? Or else I'm not going to touch them until 2025. I don't think, but I'm excited to get out, hit some wedges with them, see the changes in the new ball. Stay tuned to Titleist social channels for continued updates on new Pro V1 and Pro V1X golf balls. Head to Titleist.com to find out which Titleist golf ball fits your game best. It's a highlight watching morning to catch up on the golf, because as you mentioned, a lot of it was going on overnight. Got to give the edge to the DP World Tour on their highlight cuts and packages. Of course, they've long since done that. It's great. There was one on the PGA Tour, but it left a lot to be desired, I think, if you will, of trying to piece together exactly what happened last night. But I'm going to give you what I got, if that works.
I love it. Yeah, I was trying to watch as much of it as I could live. We got some it worked out fairly well with the late night feedings. We're feeding around like 2 a.m. and I'm flipping around and trying to keep my eyes open and watching it. But yeah, some of it feels pretty fever dreamy. I don't really remember all of it, all that well. I think I'm pretty sure I saw the winning putt go in, but I can't tell you too many other specifics. It was a lot of reading and educating myself on the tournament that was.
That's your life now. I don't think you understand that. I still feel that a year and a half, a year and 3 months later into fatherhood. But the highlights were Nico rolled in a long birdie on the 13th to take a one-shot lead over JT and Max Greyserman. Greyserman actually led with 3 holes to go, but Nico made a birdie on the par 3 16th hole to tie the lead. And then he hit 3 went off the tee on the par 5 18th, which maybe guys were doing that all week, but I just noted that. Hit an unbelievable 3-wood from 280 in
Okay.
the fairway on 18, put it on the green.
Okay, so that was real. Okay.
Yeah, that
Good
actually
to
happened. Two putted for a birdie on the last to win by one over JT and Greyserman. JT had many, many, many opportunities in this one. We can talk a little bit about his putter on the back nine. But the win for Echavarria takes him from 113th in the standings all the way up to 65th, obviously securing his tour card and putting him on the doorstep to getting into Pebble and Rib next year. Gets into the Masters, gets all the things that come with a win, 2-year exemption, all that stuff. So big, big win for his career.
Yeah, massive second win. I think, trying to remain optimistic. We're all in this together, things of that nature. Happy for a guy anytime they can get multiple wins. I know that's a big deal to people out there to prove it's not a fluke. I think the pessimistic view is like there's just so many. The idea of like PJ Tour winner has just been so kind of, I don't want to say watered down, but just like manipulated and changed over the last decade and a half as far as what that actually means. That, the Zozo Championship and the Puerto Rico Open is kind of like a weird, yeah, technically, you're in the door as a multiple time winner, but I don't know. I hate to look at it that way, but I guess where I'm coming at is the fall is just it's gotten very weird, right? Because so many of the biggest events in golf have turned into these, it's going to be a big game hunter that's going to take them down, and it just seems like in order for guys to like, it's fun watching guys try to build into that role and kind of become those people. We saw it with Wyndham Clark. Might be seeing it with Max Greyserman, which we can talk about. But it's always just a weird situation where you see a guy win an event like this, and it's like, yeah, I don't. Does that mean he's gonna go win Pebble next year? Like, maybe.
Who
Does
can
it mean
say?
he's gonna be in? So that's, I guess, first step.
It's a weird tournament with, you lose half the field. It's a limited field event, which makes sense with the structure of the tournament and getting everybody to fly over there and not have you miss the cut. That all that makes sense. But so some top guys go play, but it's not like it was where back when you had the FedEx Cup counting in the fall, you'd get a couple tournaments, but everyone would come all together and you'd actually get some world ranking points that are available on this one. But it was actually just barely more world ranking points available this week than last week at the Shriners with a full field. So
Strength of field was like right between the Shriners and the Mexico, like a little worse than the Shriners and a little higher than the Mexico Open.
yes, and yeah, higher
Which
than
which again, like, when this event started, like you said, it was kinda like this, "Oh, man, it's gonna be a limited field, it's gonna be a lot of big names, it's gonna be kinda this, like, not a WGC, but kinda sorta,"
yeah,
and now it's just kinda turned into, like, this weird, kinda almost casualty of, everything else gestures wildly at pro golf.
yeah. That's especially with it not count, which I'm fine. Again, I support this not counting in the FedEx Cup season
Yeah.
for next year, but it just makes it quite skippable, if you will. But a couple of other notes from this: a sign of life from JT. I kind of wrote that in my notes, but I don't know if JT's game was not in a state where we needed to say a sign of life, but in contention to win a tour event, which has not happened in some time for him. He went back to his old putter, the mallet putter. It ended up being the putter that let him down on the back nine. He was easily the best player in the field tee to green this week, but lost about a shot on the greens for the week. Echevarria gained about 4, so 5 shots conceded there on the greens over the course of the week from JT, and losing by 1 is a little tough to swallow. He actually lost 2.6 shots on the back nine alone. Shout out to Data Golf for their updated hole by hole strokes gained data, which is just ODing for your boy here, But it does it for somebody that missed watching the golf tournament. It paints a great picture on there of which shots he lost. How good his iron play was. I think he hit almost every green on the back, if not every green on the back, but just could not make the putts. From the highlights week, from what I could gather, he was hitting a lot of edges. It wasn't like it was horrible putting. It just like truly couldn't get a putt to fall, and just so that is the thing to look out for with JT. Like his iron play has bounced back, off a tough season this past year, but his putting just does seem to be trending worse every single year. And it's like a serious problem with him if it continues on that path, but just it has to hurt a little extra to have a negative strokes gained putting week and lose the tournament by 1.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, I think from a casual, even fairly serious golf fan's perspective, I think these events, like you said, are pretty skippable at this point. But there's a couple things to write in the notebook. Like JT playing well is kind of one of those things that, if he goes and gets a win early in the year, you kind of look at like, oh, maybe that's the spot he kind of kicked it around. Maybe that's the spot he found something, and you can you try to find these little inflection points and moments. So worth mentioning.
He had a really good finish to the end of the year last year. If you remember, he finished fifth at the Fortinet before Rome, and then went to the Nedbank, finished fourth, and then finished third at the Hero, which I know those events definitely don't mean the Hero definitely doesn't mean anything, but kind of go 5-4-3 to end your year last year after obviously the horrible year that he had last year. So we'll see if it means something. We'll see if it doesn't, but again, another shout out to Data Golf page. Like they now have the sliders on there, which the baseball savant like
Yeah.
sliders of profiling somebody's distance, their accuracy, their approach play from all different yardages. They're chipping from fairway, rough bunkers, putting from all different distances, and he's just green, 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 and that's that putting that's red. So it's not any secret what the issue is and what's potentially going to be the issue going forward if he wants to win, because his hit ball striking is going to always keep him in contention.
Well, can we talk about one of the best putters in the world going right now, which I think is Max Greyserman? Guy seems to be making everything. This is his third runner-up finish in his last 5 starts, which is probably bordering on frustrating now. I'm guessing he's going to be, starting to hear those knocks pretty goddamn loud. I would have to imagine, but I talked about him a lot after Wyndham. Cool story with his parents coming over to America and getting set up and just kind of turning into like this immigrant power family. It's a cool story. I encourage you to look up
Where are they from
some
again?
profiles about him. I think they're from Ukraine,
Okay.
but originally like basically escaping the Soviet Union. I think back in the day, and his dad became, I think, a professor at Columbia. Mom, I think, was is academic of some kind. I think he's got some brothers who also play golf, but yeah, playing really good and still looking for that first win, but keeps getting closer and closer. Solly, I'm going after your own heart here with the data golf stuff. Since July 24th, he is a 1+1.85
What does that
strokes
mean,
gained
Deej? Tell me what
player.
that means.
That means on average, he's beating an average PJ Tour player by 1.85 strokes per round. Is that
Is
right?
that a lot? That doesn't seem like very much.
That is a lot. Thank you for asking. That's essentially like if, data golf rankings, I think go on what, like a rolling 150 round, like your last 150 rounds, I think is how they work.
With, like, an
Uh,
aging part in there of
yeah.
the rounds, yeah.
But so at plus 1.85, I mean, it's a much bigger sample size, but that's basically like Rory McIlroy. Like that's where he is in comparison to his peers. Uh, that's, small window, but since July 24th, like that's how good Max Greyserman's been in relation to his peers. He's been kicking ass, probably like a top 30 player in the world at this point. When the standings kind of update, he's into all the signature events next year already, finishing in the top 50 in the FedEx Cup. So yeah, just again, kind of one of those like, don't say we didn't warn you. I think that's what the fall is for, is kind of trying to like pick horses, right? And trying to kind of find who are the guys that could break out. And I think he's got to be on the tip top of everybody's list right now.
That is, well said. You wanna trade shots back and forth on emptying out
Sure,
our notebook here? Um,
please.
Joseph Lamagna had an article on the Fried Egg this past week. Hope I'm saying that properly, but had an article that made me think a lot this week, about sponsors exemptions. And the article opens by saying, someday it'll be universally acknowledged that PGA Tour sponsor exemptions were plain sight evidence of a flawed business model. While it's understandable that companies sponsoring the tour derive value from playing alongside a professional golfer in a Wednesday Pro-Am, extending that to hand-picking competitors for the actual tournaments themselves betrays everything the tour should represent: meritocracy. So the examples given there, and one of them was Joel Damon was given a sponsor exemption this past week into a no-cut event where everybody gets points. He was 129th in the standings going into this week. He is now 124th after finishing T40 or T41, something like that, and earning 13 points. Joe Highsmith gets bumped out because of that. Also in the article, Joseph makes the case for Pearson Coody, who sits at 130th in the standings. Kind of why does Joe get an opportunity that Pearson Coody doesn't? And TC was weighing in on this, saying, death to sponsors exemptions, all this, and I I guess where I'm curious to pick your brain on this as well, but where I don't like disagree with the premise. I think it's just a teeny, and I'm not picking on Joseph necessarily on this. I'm saying this more in terms of people that get very upset about sponsor exemptions. It's a little bit of a tiny bit detached from the reality of what pro golf is, and I just always go back to they're playing for something called the FedEx Cup. Like this is golf for money. That's what it is, right? And like I think in comparison to live, the term meritocracy gets thrown out a ton in terms of what the PGA Tour is and stands for. And I know that's language the tour has used and deserves the scrutiny in this regard. But like at the same time, like we're talking about filling out the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. Yeah, the careers are going to be potentially defined. One or two or maybe three careers at the end of the year are going to be influenced by the sponsor exemptions that were handed out in this. But I have a hard time, especially after doing the deep dive into the sponsorship podcast and seeing where pro golf is trending, seeing what the tours are asking for out of sponsors. I have a hard time seeing like the influence of sponsor exemptions going down from here to the point where it just seems like a waste of, or not the best use of energy for where pro golf needs to change. And I'm not saying that this is, Joseph's necessarily like his top thing that needs to change in golf, but it's something I hear being discussed a lot. And I just don't know if like we need to like reprioritize things to make sure Joe Highsmith, who has made 25 starts this year, 4 top 20s, negative 0.43 strokes gained. I don't think he's getting screwed here. If I had to like look at the opportunities he's had this year in this scenario, I'm curious your reaction to all that.
A lot there. I think that I wonder if it's kind of a canary in the coal mine of, or something emblematic of just how kind of rotted from the inside this whole or maybe outdated is a better way of saying it. This entire system is where I feel like sponsor exemptions are a good example of when you just got to keep like duct taping things together over and over and over. That's one of those things that seems like it can't be fixed when in reality, if you were starting everything over right now, you probably would do it differently and you probably would do it more along the lines of what Joseph is laying out. And I get what you're saying as far as like, this is how the business model works. And, these proams are relying on this and the TV is relying on this and blah, blah, blah. I think there's a bit of a straw man. And I guess maybe I think where it gets tough is not all the sponsor exemptions are created equal. First of all, right. Joel Damon getting into the Zozo is different from a business and entertainment perspective than, Tiger Woods getting into Pebble Beach if he so chose to
Sure.
play it, right?
Yeah.
So like that makes the conversation hard in general. But I think, when push comes to shove, gun to my head, I think looking back at the season here and having all the Webb Simpson exemptions and having all the weird kind of, I don't want to say wasted exemptions, and also seeing Adam Scott basically get a free pass, not a free pass, but you know what I mean? Like take advantage of all of these exemptions to a point where he played really well and he got himself back into all the majors and he got himself into all the, signature events basically just through those exemptions this year is where I start to, I don't know, I think I side closer to where Joseph is saying like, man, if this is going to be the thing that you guys are saying is like, we are a meritocracy and we're a real sport. Like I kind of agree with him that, what if Joe Highsmith turns out to miss, this is a dramatic example, but like, let's say he turns into Max Homa, right? And he's a late bloomer and he's somebody who, if he just would have got the chance to get in the Zozo, maybe he wins this week, he gets into all the signature events and he's off and running. I understand that can be a very eye rolly thing, but like it's probably how he looks at it, right? And so it is a tough it's tough to keep dudes like that out just based on like, yeah, I don't know, my gut kind of says like you don't deserve it as much. I don't know. It is. I don't think there's a good answer based on just years and years and years of kind of building the whole cruise ship like this.
It's a totally different conversation if we're talking about like a dude, and Joe Highsmith is the unfortunate example here. This has nothing to do with him literally, but if there was like a dude that was busting through, again, I'm going to point to strokes gain. If there was like somebody who was above average, a half stroke above average, and just like can't get the starts and is getting completely screwed,
I mean, is Pearson Cootie in that
he's
category?
also well below average. Like he's
Mhm.
0.43 strokes gained below average, has made 20 plus starts this year on the tour and has not gotten himself into the top 125, right? If there was somebody busting at the seams on the outside, not getting it. So we're talking about a tour that has had somewhere between 20 to 30 of guys that are worthy of being on this tour from a talent perspective, also leave for a different tour. And now we're like really nitpicking the bottom 125 of this. I think I'm out of energy for that for the anger or the angst around some of that. And just because it's like, again, I go, if it was Ludwig on the outside not getting in, I think that'd be a massive problem for competitive golf. What my theory predisposes, if you will, is that like the system is set up like if you're really talented, if you're gonna be a difference maker, influential person in professional golf, a difference maker, a true competitor at the highest level, you are gonna get through. You're 100% gonna get through. The opportunities are there, and we're really about nitpicking like who like the 11th and 12th guys are on a middling roster in the NBA, which is just a very, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation, and I know maybe is a sponsor exemption deserve more scrutiny on an event like this or a signature event? I think is an interesting question because I think it is a different conversation in terms of playing for careers and things like that.
No, I agree. It's an interesting one, man. I agree with everything you just said too. I mean, I think that's the age old like if you're good enough, no one who's good enough has ever been kept out,
Exactly.
right? And I get that, but I also, if I'm Joe Highsmith, I would be pissed. If I'm Pearson Cootie, I would be pissed. Like I get, I get that element of it too, and I guess that's the part where governance is hard, and Jay Monahan or whoever's got to look those guys in the eye and be like, tough shit.
It
Sorry.
it's kind of like me being pissed though, like when my putt from 12 feet hits a ball mark and lips out low, and it made me shoot 79 instead of 78. I was like, dude, I had like 12 other
Sure.
opportunities to really have this go better today, and like I could point, oh, well, if that ball doesn't hit that ball mark, then who knows
Yeah.
how the today would have gone. Is kind of how I feel at that level, but I don't know.
Agree. It's a good piece I think everybody should go seek out. I thought Joseph really made the case well at a minimum. Even if you agree, disagree, I really enjoyed reading it.
Point about being a flawed business model is like that's the part I agree with, but like
Yeah.
there's no, again, to dive farther and farther into this, like the whole reason we're here and stuck in this business model is not really going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to keep asking people for money to put up events, they're going to want a spot or two that they can fill out and bring whoever they want to for whatever reason they want. Like that is just kind of the name of the game. So,
Agree.
anyways, good article, thought provoking. That's where I wanted to discuss it, but
Moving through the notebook, just worth mentioning on the Xander front. Kind of a bummer. First time he's really like laid an egg since Pebble Beach. I think he finished in the like maybe mid 50s in at Pebble. He finished T41 out of 78 players this week. Made a quad on Thursday. Just it's a travesty for that season long results page because it's just
I know.
on Data Golf. I mean, there's just so much green and yellow on there of just like top 10, top 10, top 5, top 5, top 10, win, 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 and it's just it sucks to see the see one stinker up there, but you know, worth. That's all I'm just gonna say. I'm not concerned.
No.
I'm not concerned about it, but it's worth mentioning.
I think we're going to be okay. I want to give a shout out to our friends at Omni Hotels and Resorts. Fall golf is here. What better way to appreciate the beauty of fall and get a few rounds in than visiting a few of our favorite Omni Hotels and Resorts on the East Coast? The historic and newly renovated Omni Homestead in Virginia, or the Oak Marsh Course at Omni Amelia Island Resort, set to open up back for public play next month following a $7.4 million renovation project with Bo Welling. I am stoked to get up there and see that. That place had a ton of potential, and I can only assume that Bo's done a great job with that one. But just because the sun is set on twilight rounds doesn't mean play stops. Omni Resorts have a ton of cool options to keep it going after dark, like the new Eagles Edge at Omni Orlando Champions Gate with 30 state-of-the-art hitting bays featuring top tracer technology, or explore the lighted 10-hole par 3 course to swing at Omni PGA Frisco. Don't forget, there's still time to register for the Omni Generation Cup, first of its kind tournament. It aims to grow the game by bringing together golfers of all generations. Find your nearest Omni course and register today at omnihotels.com/Generation Cup. With no shortage of offerings, what are you waiting for? Get to omnihotels.com/golf and play the possibilities. Anything else from your notebook from the Zozo?
Just a very random one. I just enjoyed this from Kevin Price. I saw this. Ricky Fowler now he finished fourth this week. He had not had a top 10 this year, which now means that he has had a top 10 on the PGA Tour for 16 consecutive seasons. I include that just to point out that Ricky Fowler's been playing golf on the PGA Tour for 16 seasons. Like that like stopped me in my tracks. That made me feel like the Saving Private Ryan just like aging dramatically from a young man to an old man gif. That was that's wild that it's been 16 seasons now.
I can't even. I don't have a joke prepared for that one. Like, I think Ricky is at least partially responsible for me, like getting, uh, you know, it re-energized into golf, like in
For sure.
2009 or 2010. What was it? The year he like
9.
started blazing at the Memorial. I was like, who is this dude? And I can't. That was, I guess that was 15 years ago and going on 16. That's wild.
Yeah,
That is wild, man.
crazy.
Yeah, the last thing I had was I missed this, but there was an article in Golf Week just about JT dropped in the booth, I guess, after the Zozo, which weird TV hours. Like a lot of the stars on Wednesday night were like done with their rounds before TV even came on. It was quite weird. But JT came into the booth, which by all accounts it sounded like it was a good visit. In Shupak's article, he just wrote about how good he was during the match when he was going up, when he did the on-course commentary back in 2020 when Tom Brady and Peyton, Tiger and Phil were playing, and how good he was back and forth with Charles Barkley. But just like we're kind of doing some different things with the podcast this fall, mess around, guys. Go nuts in the fall. There is truly nothing you can do to cost yourself viewers in this time period. So do get weird with it, innovate, whatever you want to call it. But that's a nice little. I know they've done different parts. That CBS has done this, but I haven't really seen that from Golf Channel in fall events in a situation like this.
The thing that I would ride for, Sean Zock spelled out a lot of these thoughts in an article a couple weeks ago, or I guess it's probably more like a month plus now ago. But the thing that I just don't understand why somebody doesn't do on any tour, LPGA would benefit greatly from this as well, is at some of these events, I obviously would be great like during the big events too, but at an event like this where it's like, hey man, it's on in the middle of the night, most of our core audience is probably not watching. What I would love is take JT after his round and sit with him for 15, 20 minutes and just have him go through every shot and just show them all in line on a YouTube video. All right, hole number 1. Here's what's interesting about this hole. I'm thinking this. I'm hitting this club. I obviously left that one out to the right a little bit. So now I've got this shot from the rough. But like, do that for 18 holes. I would learn so much more about JT, about the golf course, about what
Sure.
clubs he's hitting, about like, God, that feels like a fucking no brainer that just would make me like golf more. So I hope somebody does that.
Would be great. I would agree with that. In 6, 7, 8 years, DP World Tour. Well, I'm sure we'll get to it
It's just
before the end of the
simply
year.
not
Can't
possible.
do
It's
it. We
just
cannot do
simply
it.
not possible.
We in a podcast episode that has not come out yet, we did a look back at the 1983 Skins game. Would you believe me if I told you they had players mic'd up in the 1980 on television in 1983? We can't do it now.
They lost the blueprints for all that technology. There was a fire, they can't possibly recreate any of that tech.
The Genesis Championship on the DP World Tour. This was a really freaking good tournament. Again, a great one to catch up with on the highlights. Ben On beat feisty young Tom Kim in a playoff. First of all, the fan clubs were out in Korea. That's an important thing to take away from this. We got caught up in this at the BMW Ladies a few years ago, where like Korean fans, first of all, they're a vibe out there, and like if you go to a tournament and you are, especially on the female side, like if you're a fan of Hyoju Kim, like you wear matching colors and you root for Hyoju Kim. Like you do not root for Sunyeon Park. Like you do not root for any of the other players. And like you could hear the different factions of fans cheering when Ben On would make a birdie, when Tom Kim would make a birdie. Not as much when some of the European players were making
Sure.
birdies, which was very, very partisan. We know you just don't do that, but it was great to watch back. There was a great energy out there in that one. Tom Kim birdied 4 of the first 7 holes to take the lead from a big pack of guys. There's a 5-way tie at the top at the turn. Antoine Rosner took the lead. Tom Kim almost holed out on the 11th hole. He
Big
stuffed
Twan, Rosner.
it. He stuffed Big Twan. He stuffed it, made birdie on 14 to get to 17 under par. Then Ben On, who is 2 shots back, 265 meters out in the fairway. Did you see this shot?
I did.
291 yards out over water, pulls driver from the fairway to an elevated green, hits it to 13 feet, hit it just past the pin, almost perfectly in line with it. Did not make the eagle, made the easy birdie. Bogey's the 17th hole, birdie 16, bogey 17, then birdie's 18. Tom Kim had an 8-footer to win the tournament. He pimps it. He thinks it's in. It lips out on the high side. Ben On won it with a birdie on the first playoff hole. So I'm excited. Ben On was very emotional afterwards, living in his home, winning in his home country in Korea, and a great tournament to catch up on this morning.
I love it. On the LPGA, Runen Yin wins by 1 at the Maybank. Her 5th win since her LPGA career kicked off in 2022, her 3rd win of the year. She won 2 weeks ago, in Shanghai as well. Just a fun kinda thing. She won by 1 over Gino Titakum, who was her partner earlier this year at the Dow LPGA. I mentioned that because, Greyserman and Echavarria, were also partners at the Zurich. So kind of a weird,
Hmm.
kind of a weird little partner kismet going on in the world of pro golf this week. Only other note: Randy's girl Bailey Tardy was kind of right on the edge of the of getting into the CME Group Tour Championship. Needed to
Just
get
in case we would need to touch on why it's Randy's girl. Like she had like
what
the 36 hole lead, and Randy's like, I don't think she's gonna last, and we won't let him hear the. She didn't last.
she. I thought she was like tasting Randy,
Yeah,
right?
she
Wasn't
was
she?
at the
She
end.
came back
Yeah.
at him hard. Anyway, she finished in the top 5. She's now comfortably inside. Probably punched her ticket to the Tour Championship. So fun week on the LPGA. Some big names playing well.
What what's the catch up process been like for you for your time away from golf? Any observations or topics that we've covered in recent weeks, months that you've been dying to discuss?
I think, you guys did a great job covering all of it. I listened to the pod every week. It was very fun to just be like a consumer of the content. You can kind of get lost in your own head or lost in the sauce on like, oh God, is anybody gonna like this? Why what are we doing here? And then you get on the outside and you're like,
Oh, that's
what the hell, guys?
good.
It's
I
Sunday
get
night.
it.
Like, what time? I'm gonna be up with the kid. Like, what time's come on, Phil, post the pod. Like, what time's it going up? I need to fire it up. So very fun to listen to. I guess we kind of talked about this first note I had, but just a little struggling with like where to look, during the fall. What am I supposed to be paying attention to? I didn't mean to take such a big, backhanded shot at our guy Nico Echavarria, but it's just kind of this weird like guys guys playing their way into like events that they're probably going to be in like the lower third of next year. Is like kind of a little bit how the fall feels. I don't see a lot of dogs coming out of the fall, so it just becomes kind of this weird thing. I don't know if that's a byproduct of, we need to split this into two tours, if it's a byproduct of just the best have kind of never been better. And it's just very clear when we get to signature events, when we get to the majors, like it's going to be the big dogs that win those, and how hard it is to break through. But it just struggling with that a little bit, I
I don't
think.
think that's your fault. I don't think the struggle is with the big picture of how pro golf sits right now. Again, a fractured landscape, which it was a lot easier to be like, man, it means the world here to be 125 and to like make to get your PGA Tour card when the PGA Tour had all of the top talent in the world, sans a couple guys, top Europeans that don't play the PGA Tour. Now it's like extremely fractured. It's just like really a lot harder to get super jazzed up about quote unquote the lifeblood of the PGA Tour, which is the Mule SCN. Like people aren't really paying attention to some of the biggest events on the PGA Tour, so it is very reasonable that some of these fall events are going to struggle a little bit with keeping people's attention.
Which is a bummer because I've always I don't know. I think I don't think this is revisionist history. Like I have enjoyed these events in spurts in the past when they did mean something. Or there was some you could kind of see the path a little bit. And it just feels like a lot of that has kind of been lost.
Yeah.
So just kind of a I don't know, general thing. I think the photo of Yasser wearing the giant cowboy hat at Live Dallas was like I
That
think
didn't
that's
get
gonna
enough
be
run. That did
no, it
not get
did
enough
not
run.
get enough run. And I know we're a podcast, we're an audio medium, that's tough, but that should have been everywhere, man. That
Big
was like
tax.
that was one of the true just like, is this AI? Are we living in a simulation? Like what's the hell is going on with anything type of
Backs
moments. I just
like
really enjoyed that.
8 7 8 years ago, that would have been what we would have like memed him into. But
Yeah.
now everything's so weird, both in real life and in golf, that you can't even like parody some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's actually happening. And Twitter's not the same, anyways. But like it was funny of just like, oh yeah, Yoster's wearing a cowboy hat, and oh yeah, the world might be ending if I keep scrolling on my Twitter feed. But yeah,
I was a little not shocked, but it was wild to see all the run that Rory's comments got in Porter's newsletter about the, why is everybody being negative? We're all in this together. I thought you guys covered all that really well. I agree with most of what you guys said. Yeah, just color me in the camp of like pretty despondent and pretty disillusioned by that whole deal as well. And I was thinking about it today. I'm like trying to explain what I mean, and it's just like it feels like golf fans have kind of just been going to this same restaurant every week, and every week you get there and it's like, oh yeah, I would love this. Like, now we don't have that. Get something else. Like, okay, well, I would love this. Yeah, we don't have that either. I would love this. Cool, we'll make it for you, but like it's gonna suck. Okay. And we just have to, like, it's the only restaurant in town, I guess. Like, we just have to keep going to it over and over and over and over, and that's what, like
Are you getting this analogy from the video that was going around of the guy going to the mob restaurant?
no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm not. Was that
There's a
the
dude, yeah,
same
he's
one?
like, I went to this restaurant. It's like, okay, and he just walked in. There was two Armenian dudes in the back. It said grand opening in
No,
April. The first 7 things on the menu they didn't have, so they gave me a terrible tuna sandwich. And I came back
no,
3
that's
okay, that literally
would have
sounded
saved me
like
a lot of time. That's exactly what I'm getting at. But that's where I'm kinda like to then kinda hear Rory just be like, "Man, why doesn't everybody, why aren't you guys, like, more pumped about this?" I'm like, "'Cause this restaurant fucking sucks, man. Like, I hate coming here." And that's, I don't know. That was just kind of a bleak moment, I think, but, you guys covered it well. A couple other takeaways. I don't know what to make of Minwoo Lee, like, at all in general. I feel like this is also not getting enough run just because I see him on my phone every time I open it. It's always just, the Instagram cut ups. He's all over YouTube. I see him everywhere. Don't know if he's a good golfer or not. I think like I'm thinking about all this because of the President's Cup of like coming into it. It's like, man, this seems like he's supposed to be kind of like the dude. He's supposed to be like this exciting, kind of like flamboyant leader type of guy. Like this could be his week, and he was just completely anonymous. For what did he play the first session, second session, and then didn't play again? I don't think till singles. Uh, and it's just you dig into the stats. It's just I just don't ever know what I'm gonna get. It's very very weird.
it's
And
hard
so I think
yeah, it's hard to be an elite player without being an elite iron player. He
right,
hits
and
it
he is the
far.
opposite of that.
Yeah, can do a lot of other things except just a very meh average, iron player, which is just some courses like you can bomb and gouge a lot of them. I mean, hits it very, very, very far. But man, it's just red all up his approach page, and there's no elite players that do that, and there's not one. There's not a single one.
No, and that's where I'm kinda getting to this point where, like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills a little bit from a lot of the, like, let him cook crowd. I was like, "Yeah, no, I that's
He's
fun, I get it."
entertaining. He's fun,
It's
sure.
just yeah, it's just like, I don't know if he's good. I think he might not be good. So I wanna watch that. And then, last thing, just
TC should really if he dislikes Taylor Pendrith, he should really dislike Min Woo Lee.
yeah, and then so I'm just kinda I don't know, just trying to breathe a little oxygen into, like, maybe someone can investigate this or watch this space because I want him to be good. Like,
Sure.
nobody was rooting harder, that Players where he came out with the, surfing rashi on, like, the weird, like, mock turtleneck. I'm like, "This is it. This rules." But, yeah, I just don't know if the game's quite there. Last thing, I think you guys thought I was joking about this.
Here we go.
Tom Kim should have demanded to go
Oh
out on
God.
Friday
Oh
at the
my
President's Cup.
God.
I think you guys did me extremely dirty on that, just waving that away. I was pacing around. I had to go have a cigarette outside. I was pacing around my house. I was so mad that they just get their pants pulled down in round one, and you have this guy that's supposed to be just like the emotional spark plug of this team. Isn't this amazing? Look at him. He's putting his hand to his ear. He's revving up the crowds. He's what, 23, 24 years old, and he can't play 18 holes back to back like that. Like, get out of here, man.
Are
He should have been
is this at Tom Kim or Mike Weir then?
both of them.
Oh
Both of them.
God,
I
this
think Mike Weir
is
might have been challenging him, and I think Tom Kim just be like, "Okay, cool. Guess I'm not playing." That's
this
was
is one
that
of
you
your
think that's how
worst takes.
Think how Kobe's gonna handle that one? Like,
That
get the fuck out of here.
that is the best. Thank you for that because you just compared Tom Kim to Kobe.
No, and
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying is like, and the fact that they went 5-0 without him, 4-0, whatever, without him, it tells me all I need to know. That's take it away. No thanks. I stand with TC.
that was a very TC segment. TC finish to that segment.
Yeah.
One more thing about Tom Kim from the President's Cup, if I may say.
I just that was disgusting. I can't believe he didn't demand to go back out.
Well, I have a feeling we're about to continue to disagree. But before we do that, DJ, I threw a little story up on my Instagram today of me getting my stack session in my newly finished backyard, which I'm stoked about. But got a ton of questions about it. Just is it working? How's it working? I want to point everyone towards our episode a couple weeks ago with Dr. Sasha McKenzie. We break down all the details of the system, how it works, some of the benefits of it. I have been doing the program since early July. My distance and speed are way up. I can't even really describe it. I've had a ton of fun doing the workouts. They're easy. It takes about 35-ish minutes to do both the warm up and the workout combined, 16 minutes to warm up, maybe about 20 minutes or so to actually do the workout. The speed gains are immediate. It affects it down the bag. You swing the club better. I'm releasing the club better. The benefits have just been incredible. I can't believe it. I touched 127 miles an hour with swing speed. I'm struggling to get back to that. We're working on it. Kind of the ebbs and flows of the system are interesting. You'll gain, you'll plateau a bit, and you gain again. It's kind of like Bitcoin, if I may say. But it's fantastic. It's an incredible product. They got a putting apparatus within it as well that I'm working on. I've done 6 sessions of the putting. I want to keep putting some work in on that before I can give kind of the full review of how that's helped my putting. But it's been a great system as well, getting you working on different styles of putts. So go to thestacksystem.com. Use code NOLAYINGUP. You get 10% off the order. It's incredible. It's one of the coolest things I've done with my golf game. Hoping to keep it up even through paternity leave. We're going to talk a little later on when we get into our golf games about how that's been treating us. But thestacksystem.com, code NOLAYINGUP for 10% off. Go check out that episode with Sasha McKenzie. It's going to answer all your questions. All right, Deej. The TGL is coming, whether you like it or not. It is on its way. I don't know if you've forgotten about it. I don't know if you listeners have forgotten about it. They announced their schedule this past week. I was going to go through the schedule, but the graphic was so small with all the teams, I could not tell who was actually playing who in that one. And it would be confusing if we went through the entire schedule. But week 1, January 7th, Tuesday night, it'll be of Sony week, is the debut of the TGL. The season is going to run. I'm just going to go through some of the facts because honestly, I was reading about it today. And I kind of forgot about that.
Sure.
And if we forgot about it, I'm guessing a lot of the listeners have as well. The season's going to run from January through March. It's going to have 15 regular season matches before a 4-team playoff. Sounds a little bit like some of my fantasy football leagues. Maybe too many teams making the playoffs. 4 out of 6 teams. Matches are going to be on Monday or Tuesday nights on ESPN. They're going to last about 2 hours. Without looking, could you tell me a complete set of any one single team, all 4 guys on one team?
No, I have looked and I can barely remember, but I know the Tiger one is Tiger, Max, Thirsty Tom Kim, and Kisner.
Kevin Kisner. That's
Is
exactly
that right?
right. Can I
Might
get
be
you
the
to
other.
pick a favorite team tonight? If we went through team by team, could I get you to pick one? Declare like this is your squad. I've been so jealous of TC and the
I
Cleeks. I need a team.
Well, I kinda think Min Woo Lee, like, going back to everything I said, like, I think he's gonna just hang up banners in the simulator league. Like, I think he might be a menace in that.
Let's go
I
through some
think
of them for the listeners' sake. So
Sure.
the Atlanta Drive Golf Club is Lucas Glover, Patrick Cantlay, JT, and Billy Horschel. Boston Common, I don't need to go through this, I'm sure. Keegan Bradley, Rory McIlroy, Hideki Matsuyama, and Adam Scott.
Okay.
Jupiter Links is Tom Kim, Tiger Woods, Max Homa, Kevin Kisner. Los Angeles Golf Club is Sahith Tagala, Tommy Fleetwood, Colin Morikawa, Justin Rose. New York Golf Club, Matt Fitzpatrick, Ricky Fowler, Xander Schauffele, and Cameron Young from the mean streets of the Bronx.
Of course.
And the Bay Golf Club is Minwoo Lee, Wyndham Clark, Ludwig Aberg, and Shane Lowry.
Yeah, I don't I gotta be a Jupiter Lynx guy, I think.
That was going to be my team.
Alright, we can both root
I
for
mean,
him,
with Tom Kim, how was I not supposed to? How was I not going to take
Yeah,
him?
that's true, he might be keeping me off. I don't know, hard not to root for the small market team, I feel like, amongst all these other, just behemoths, Atlanta, Boston, LA, New York. I mean, I think scrappy Jupiter Lynx reminded me of the Green Bay Packers here. It's little market that could.
Well, we're going to go through here some 3 things. We each had to come up with 3 things. I'm going to go 3 things that TGL has going for it. You're going to do 3 things it does not have going for it, I think is how I would define it. But again, just reminding folks if you're not familiar. So teams are going to play head-to-head in 15-hole matches. Okay, 15-hole matches. The match will be divided into 2 sessions. Session 1 is on holes 1 through 9 will be triples in which 3 players on the team play alternate shot. So there's 4 guys on each team. but only 3 play on any given night. So as I understand it, there's a massive spreadsheet that like schedules out all these guys and when they're going to be there, what tournaments they're playing, and why they can't be. So not all 4 guys are going to be there on a given night.
Yeah, sorry, we're out of that dish. I don't know. Maybe you could have like some ravioli instead.
Session 2 of the match is going to be on holes 10 through 15. It's going to be singles, and players are going to compete one-on-one. So, like, A player versus A player play on the 10th hole, B player versus B player compete on the 11th, C versus C on the 12th, and they all go through again. So each player is playing 2 holes in singles. There's a twist with the hammer. I honestly did not know about this till I read the Golf Digest article. If a team wants to raise the stakes on a hole, they can throw the hammer. If the other team accepts it, it raises the stakes of the hole by 1 point. If the opposing team declines the hammer, they concede the hole. The hammer rotates from team to team, allowing for quick comebacks. So, interesting element.
Love it.
There's a 40-second shot clock. There's limited timeouts available. There's referees on the field. It's meant to make it feel fast-paced and closer to a typical stadium sport.
Okay.
So here's my things of why I think the TGL has going for it. Number 1, I think it's unburdened by what has been. In terms of all the reason why golf on TV is sucking. Okay. We're not going to miss any action. There's not thousands of miles of cables that need to be laid out there. There's no playing through. I hope there's not playing through. There's no awful
That'd be sick.
television deal that we know of. It's confined to a certain period of time. It's prime time. That's point number 1. And point number 2, it's harmless. It's players mic'd up. It can be complementary to the main course, which is the more competitive level of golf. I do not expect this to be game changing. I don't think this is going to blow people away. I don't think golf nutsos like us are going to be like, holy shit, you got to see the TGL. This is the future of golf. But I think we've seen in a lot of other versions of like green grass golf, a lot of different ways that golf can be enjoyed. And I think this can be complementary to that. And it is a very different product. I'm probably going to agree with you on some of the things that they don't have going for it in a minute
I
here,
agree.
but
I agree with
yeah,
you on all of that too, right? I don't think it's like an argument.
yeah,
I'm with you on all that stuff. I
yeah.
mean, I think the fact that Tiger Woods doesn't have to walk 18 holes and can
And that's
sit there and hit golf
point number
shots.
3.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
This is where you're going to see Tiger Woods play golf. This
Yeah.
is the needle. He is not coming back to play PGA Tour golf. I don't think. I'd be absolutely stunned if he did. He's said he's going to play once a month. That did not happen this past year. He just had another surgery. Like, we're not going to see that dude outside of Thursday and Friday of majors. And he still carries a lot of clout. I don't know how great he's going to be mic'd up. I don't say it's going to be like wildly entertaining, but if you want to watch Tiger Woods play golf, this is how the format's got to be in a format that did not exist prior to when they debut this here in a few months. So if I can give you a bonus one,
Please.
the format might be sweet. Like,
It's interesting. I'm with you. Yeah.
I mean,
I
alt shot is the best version of team golf that we see in President's Cup, and it's the best version of like the live playoffs. Like that one team match they play where guys got to team up to play alt shot triples. Like doing it one every 3 shots is an interesting little wrinkle to it, and it's all very well confined. Again, I think we underrate, or people can tend to underrate, like how hard it is to watch match play on TV through NBC. And this is not going to be that. Like they don't have to bounce around between different matches. Like it's all going to play out all right in front of us. And I don't know. I guess I'm a little. I'm. I'll let. I'll let you get to yours. Because I was getting ready to say I'm surprised at some of the pushback, but I'm also not, because I have a feeling your first point is going to be why I'm not surprised at some of the pushback.
So I'm doing the pushback because that's the assignment of the way we structured the conversation. I'm
You're
with
a
you
bad guy.
on no, I'm with you. Like I'm not Ebenezer Scrooge on this. Like it might not be for me, which is totally fine. That does not mean I'm trying to stop anybody else from enjoying it. I love thinking outside the box. I think it's very great that we have, an avenue that we can watch Tiger Woods play golf. I think that's awesome. Also, like of all the ideas, like this is a kind of stretchy connection here maybe, but like one of the reasons I don't think live works is because it's not different from the PGA Tour. It's just a worse version of the tour, and you got some teams kind of cobbled together, and there's that element of it, which is kind of interesting. But like the product is actually it's the same, right? It's just other than the tippy top guys. It's a lot of just like watching either players of similar quality or worse playing golf courses that are of similar quality or worse
One
on
main
a
difference,
TV
though,
product.
louder. It's a lot louder.
It is,
It's
but it is
massively
louder.
louder.
You're totally right. Whereas this is totally different, right? I mean, like you said, it's getting rid of all the downtime between shots. It's getting rid of like a lot of the things that just makes golf really hard to watch on TV. So I'm for all of that stuff, and I think I, I also think it's probably the best example I've seen of something that makes sense for kids, right? Like to get kids into the game, like try to, my son's 6 weeks old, so he'll watch whatever we want to watch, but I cannot imagine it's an easy task to get a 5, 8, 10, 12, 15, even 20-year-old to sit down and just watch a 4-hour slow slog of a commercial fest on a Sunday afternoon. This feels very watchable for from a kid's perspective. So on that front, like I'm all for it, man. I think that works.
However,
What I think they probably have going against them is I was trying to consolidate all this into to one point. I'm just gonna call it the stink of the golf industry. I don't know who involved here deserves the benefit of the doubt. I don't know who in the world of pro golf gets the benefit of the doubt right now on anything. And it maybe I'm just watching too many election commercials right now, but I'm just like, man, look at are you better off now than you were 4 years ago as a golf fan? Like, get these people the fuck out of here, man. Like, do not tell me you're fixing anything. You guys do not like if you wanted to fix it, you would have fixed it by now. Like, get out of here. So that's I think number one is like just color me extremely pessimistic that we're gonna have something that is truly designed for fans to be an engaging entertainment product and not just like another cash redistribution system for guys that didn't go to live. Like, maybe it will be. I'm open minded. I hope it's great. I am rooting for its success, but
it's
I'm
a
feeling a
big
little
hurdle.
scarred.
It's a
I'm
big
feeling a
hurdle.
little scarred by the last 4 years, and I'm in a wait and see mode here.
And I don't disagree with any of that. My only like opposition to that is I think my like hate tank is empty. Like I don't think I can pull over any farther. Like I don't know if I have energy left to hate anything else in
Sure.
pro golf. It honestly is how I feel of like I don't know, man. Fuck, this is obviously terrible over here. Let's try the simulator league. That's kind of where I'm at.
I know. It's yeah. I feel like I could get a lot more excited if it was like, the product that we had on a Sunday afternoon was just like we got that's so dialed that we think we can do just as good a job with like something else. But instead it just feels like it's like, oh man, that's irreparably broken. Like the thing you guys all like really love is like so boned that we're gonna try to do that. I don't know, maybe this video game thing works. The e-gamers are all getting paid out the ass. So maybe we could tap into that. Which again, we'll see. I think the teams are kind of a good illustration of what I'm talking about here. You had a kind of a
Yes.
chance
Ugh,
to
horrible.
everything that Liv did wrong, they kind of repeated the same mistakes just with like some better graphic design and team names maybe. No draft, no rhyme or reason to like how or why anybody's on any teams. These
And
like vague, thirsty associations with cities.
they're totally going to get caught in between being just like
Yeah,
hit and giggle and competitive. And
yeah,
competitive would make, if you want competitive, you had to have a draft. And like that would have been an easy way to generate interest in this
totally.
team. Like totally interesting. Who's the first overall pick in the history of the draft of this league? And
Yeah.
instead, like Kevin Kisner is a part-time announcer and he's on one of these teams. Like that's a problem if you want to be serious. Like I think they would be more successful more in the hit and giggle part, but
And
that's a problem.
that's what kind of brings me to point number 2 is like if I would strongly, strongly advise not being serious and not taking this seriously. And if you're gonna do that, then they're gonna get stuck in the middle here. I think Ryan Lavner said on his podcast there's no color commentators that are it's probably just gonna be like open mics for all the players. I don't know what upside the players have to really, kind of sending it or just being funny. I think it's setting up the players to fail spectacularly to just fill all that airtime. I think it's going to be I don't know, either boring at best or kind of cringy at worst, but we shall see. And then I guess that, just add it to the heap of tickets, right? I mean, if you want to go
Ugh.
watch, it's like almost $200 to go watch this thing inside the simulator dome. So I don't know. That's scraping the bottom of the barrel, but I'll throw that in as a parting shot.
I also wouldn't, without having seen, only seen graphics of what it's going to look like. The two important, someone maybe important things. I would think they're somewhat important as of now. One, you do play off real grass to hit the shots. Like that is
Yeah,
and it's not
I know you
the,
love that as a
you
big
know,
turf
that's
guy.
a huge turf guy, and it's also not the dreaded like boom boom hit immediate into the screen. Like you play from somewhat far away from the screen, and the screen is massive. Like that
Yeah,
part is,
don't think that's coming through on TV.
I think that's better than just like, dude, just hit it right at this screen, directly and like 10 feet in front of you. Now
Yeah,
I have my doubts on like the putting green and the different shapes that they can do on that. I don't know if that's going to really captivate people. I don't know. We haven't seen it. We don't know. The whole designs could be fun. I mean,
totally.
like they could, it's
Some of those look
very
sick. I'm
golden
in on
tee.
that.
Yeah, just totally can fuck around and do whatever you want with the design and not have to worry about how guys get from spot to spot is another, unburdened by what has been element of all this. So
I don't know. We'll see, man. I will be watching. I'm interested. I'm rooting for it. Truly. I just yeah, I'm in wait and see mode, I think, right now.
they should be very prepared to be, the players especially be heavily scrutinized with this when it becomes we know at least on Twitter, or I think it's fair to call it X now because it is no longer Twitter, but
The
it,
everything app.
it is going to be so distilled down into like, uh, there's gonna be so many own goals on the live front of like, no, copying the team golf thing. It's like, well, these guys playing in a fucking simulator. Like you just compared live to a simulator league here. Like there's going to be so much of that going on as everyone races to get the worst take in about this. But
Yeah, I don't know what the reaction will be. I'm more interested in the reaction just kind of from the general public, right? I mean, because I don't know what you really compare this to. I mean, it's almost like if a bunch of NBA players went and played slam ball, like I
yeah,
don't even know what other comps there are. So I could see it either being like people kind of being morbidly into it, like this is super I can't believe that this is a thing and I can't look away. Or I could see people just kind of being like, "Oh, okay. No thanks. I'm going to go do something else."
I could see it, the interest dying pretty quickly, right? And
Also, Tiger and Rory aren't playing in the first week, which is kind of
which I
strange,
think
but
is kind of smart, honestly. Of all right, debut week 1, we'll see, and then like to avoid the week 2 letdown, they're
I
playing
suppose.
in
I
week
don't know.
2.
Even that just feels like too clever by half of just like, no, we've already thought of that and we're outsmarted you so that like yeah, it's like, yeah, get out of here, man. Just get me excited in week 1.
We'll
We'll
see.
see.
Also work out some kinks in week 1 because I think there's going to be a little bit of awkwardness in that first week.
It's very strange that I just feel like unless I've missed it, I feel like we just haven't other than the whole designs, I feel like we haven't seen too much just from kinda like a demo perspective, right?
No, I totally agree. I think that would help the conversation. I think at this point. So
Remember the roof got blown off?
that was sick.
Gosh, what a weird couple of
I
years.
was gonna put in my positives going forward of like not affected by weather, but I was like, oh, that's already been delayed a year for
That's
weather.
true.
So
That's true. We'll
okay,
see. I'm can't I truly, like, put me in the, like, wildly curious camp, I just, like I am pumped to see what it looks like and what happens.
I'm curious at absolute minimum.
Yeah.
Well, you want to give us some headlines from the around the world of golf this past week as we
Yeah, just a
look
lot
circle
of a
back?
lot of kind of just stuff going on. I figured we'd just do kind of a grab bag of headlines. Each of us could kind of pick one story to dive a little deeper into. So if you
Love.
want to pause me, you want to say anything, please by all means. But
Okay.
I'll just kind of run through some of these. Uh, Cleaning out the inbox here. The RNA released a golf for smaller spaces study. I thought this was relevant for our TGL conversation. Big long study digging into the history of short courses, kind of running down some of the stuff that they're doing in Glasgow. They bought like a kind of defunct 18-hole course in Glasgow, turned it into this kind of community short course, and seems very clear that they're bullish on doing more stuff like that, which I think is great.
Very
Very
clearly the future. Like that's
yes.
just unavoidably the future.
So I would encourage people to read up on that if you like. Ratings for the Shriners are in from last week. There was 160,000 people that watched the Shriners on Golf Channel. Again, do I think TGL is gonna get more than that? Like, yeah, probably. I
For
just
sure.
you know, I think the Champions Tour had just over 100,000. So like, the Champions Tour is just barely lagging behind the PJ Tour at this point, which is kind of just what is anybody doing
That's
here?
just like
Kind
TVs that
of
are
situation.
accidentally on, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like it
This is a good one. Thanks to our friend, Jay Revel has been following this story for a long time. Dream Golf coming to the Florida Panhandle. This one had been
mm,
kinda whispered around Florida for a while, but Michael Kaiser was on hand at a Board of Commissioners meeting in Washington County, Florida, which is right near Panama City Beach. Looks like there's gonna be a new Kaiser property going in. Yeah, just north of there, just there's like a little airport, by Panama City Beach. It'd be kinda just north of there. It sounds like the working title is New Hope Dunes.
mm,
So that would be it looks like one golf course now, but I think it's same model as they always run, a ton of space, for more golf, lodging, all kinds of stuff. That's like 2 hours from Tallahassee, about 4 hours from you in Jacksonville.
love it.
Exciting stuff. There's a random one I saw in Jeff Shackelford's newsletter. The St. Andrews Links Clubhouse is planning to expand. So just file that away for anybody going to St. Andrews. They're adding a new restaurant, a new locker room, new roof garden. That's the clubhouse that's kind of just to the right of the second fairway at St. Andrews. Solly Sweetens Cove is expanding thanks to its partnership with Reef Capital Partners. Everybody's favorite 9-hole golf course is adding a short course, like short par 3 course, along with an array of additional amenities. This is from Josh Sens at golf.com, including stay and play cabins, an elaborate putting green, a fishing dock, a skeet shooting range, and a restaurant and distillery. Your thoughts on that one?
I mean, every time I go to Sweetens, I think I've looked around and be like, is there any more land here we could use? Any more expansion we could have? I think, some of the reaction might be about, i- it's a very different place from when it was written about in Golfer's Journal as the little course that could. It's a massive operation there now, and it represents some of the maybe natural evolution of it. And I mean, anything those guys have touched has turned to gold in my eyes, and I'm excited for them. So anything to increase their offering, I think, is going to be a good thing because still, no matter what, there's going to be nothing like playing that 9-hole course from all the different ways you can do it, and some more things to supplement it, I think, is a good thing.
Here, here. Yeah, but kind of the opposite of what I was saying about no one in pro golf getting the benefit of the doubt. I think Rob gets the benefit of the
Sure.
doubt, as long as I'm around. So I can't wait to see what they
When was the
put
last
together. I
time you were at
also,
Sweetens?
dude, I was just gonna say,
4 years for me.
yeah, I need to get back. Was that when we shot the Jason Bone thing?
Whenever September 2020 was,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that was the last time I've played the golf course.
yeah.
I have driven through because it was, like, exactly halfway between Jacksonville and, my in-laws in Bloomington Normal, Illinois, so we would stop at the birdhouse, like, halfway through on the drive, but, haven't played the golf course in a very long time. I need to get back. Alright, Solly, this one from Dylan DeChair, golf.com. Live Golf has changed its qualifying system. Of course, you might remember the promotions event that they did in Abu Dhabi last year, where 3 guys got through. It's kind of the Happy Gilmore, if you come play this event, we'll give you a spot on the PJ Tour sort of event that they did last year. The 3 guys that got through,
Waterbury
uh,
Open.
the Waterbury Open, yeah. Kalas Samuja, Kieran Vincent, and Junichiro Kazuma were the guys that got through. 2 of them were immediately relegated, and Kazuma finished 45th. Probably will not be re-signed, according to my sources. Just
Get
kidding.
the
That was in
cleats.
Dylan's piece. Now only one guy getting through the promotions event. I think why this matters, and Dylan spells all this out in his piece as well, is it seems like they're pretty clear on giving up on the OWGR front. I think this was a big reason. This promotions event was a big, like, no, no, no. See, there's a pathway into the tour. It's not a closed shop. They're pretty obviously like, all right, that ship has sailed. Let's just make this a full, free agency. Try to get some splashy signings going. Which I don't know what is happening on that front, but
I
you know,
would push back at that, the reasoning being to appease the OWGR. It was like to appear to appease
sure,
the
sure,
OWGR. It was not a
yeah.
serious attempt. They deep down knew that they had no shot at it, but for dumbass political purposes, that was for campaign reasons. That's why they were doing that, and nobody was buying that shit.
So if you would like to go to Saudi Arabia and play in the promotions event, you can. There's one spot available. I don't know how your game's looking right now, but uh,
We'll get there.
maybe put that on your calendar. All right, what do you got? What's your main event? What's your main event headline, the story you enjoyed this week?
So there was a great article in The Athletic this week from Gabby Herzig. It was titled "How the U.S. Election Could Shape the Future of the PGA Tour and PIF Deal." So just kick it off, DJ. Who are you voting for here? That's how I want. I just
Just stick to golf, man.
I
Come
thought that
on.
would be an interesting kind of reminds me of the Chappelle white people hate telling people who they're going to vote for part of the conversation, but it was a really interesting look into a lot of stuff that I probably hadn't fully thought out of how this election could influence things, and just some really honestly a good 10,000 foot view lines in there that just made you literally laugh out loud reading it. But from the article, it said the DOJ is a creature of the executive branch, and with its law enforcement and prosecutorial role, it can exercise significant discretion and pursue the priorities of the current administration. That's from Brooklyn Law School professor and sports antitrust expert Jody Balsam. It said when a new administration comes in, whether it's Harris or Trump, they can dictate the priorities of the DOJ. Pausing there to say, of course, we know that DOJ appears to be the big holdup in this, and it seems certainly like the Tour and PIF are waiting this out to see who the new administration is. Of course, this wild thing about this is they're one of the candidates for this U.S. election has a financial interest in one of these tours, which is just again a comical thing that I knew, but just to hear that spelled out was another thing that just made me laugh. Another incredible paragraph. Experts say that Monahan's initial comments surrounding the agreement alarmed the antitrust community. During a CNBC interview, the commissioner stated the PGA Tour Live Golf deal would take the competitor off the board.
Tough.
But we all know that happened at the time, but it was just like in a very well put together article. Just very much like, oh my God, did he seriously do that? Signaling a goal of limiting competition and reclaiming control of the industry. Language preventing the leagues from poaching talent was included and then dropped after it raised immediate concerns from antitrust officials due to its clear intention to stifle opportunities for the golfers who are considered independent contractors. Those red flags raised by the DOJ around the deal have not disappeared. So all that to say, a new administration that, is prioritizes something else than this administration could have an effect on things. But
I think if Gabby was not the respectable journalist that she is, put it another way. You could have said if the guy from Bryson's Breaking 50 video gets in, like that could prove very good for Live Golf and its leverage in the PIF PJ Tour conversation.
if
But
last line I had there was the antitrust laws are a weapon to Trump, a thing that you use to create a merger that would be a monopoly, said a prominent sports antitrust lawyer who spoke on condition of anonymity because they had been previously involved with the PGA Tour legal matters. And the quote is, he's all about trying to use these sorts of processes. So I I still don't know like what it actually means other than a change of the guard here can have an effect on all of this, right? I mean, I
I think the big thing is this is much more trap draw Randy Tron territory, but the largely I think the Biden administration has been cracking down on a lot more
sure.
antitrust stuff than in the past, and the thought would be that if Harris gets in, they would continue that because that's kind of what's at stake here is just trying, somehow in this conversation where these guys are just making $1 trillion a year, it's trying to make sure that they're not anti-labor, anti-worker, and that's what, the anti-competitive stuff is revolving around. So if
I get that. What I don't like, again, putting the Trump element back into this of previously, in his eyes, spurned by the PGA Tour and having an event taken away from him and having multiple events at live golf courses at his properties, does his personal interest in that give
yeah,
live more leverage in the negotiations is an element of this that the antitrust stuff I think is the easier part of that of like
right.
where are his interests going to lie on this is I don't know the answer to that because I don't really know what Piff wants out of this either.
Yeah.
So uh,
We'll see.
we
Stay
will
tuned.
see. We will definitely see what happens. What stuck out the most to you of any of these other headlines?
I loved this was Tron sent this one over. This was a Golf Week piece from Adam Shupak, 6 speculative names to be the next PGA of America CEO. Shupak dove in here and basically pointed out it's been about 3 months since Seth Waugh stepped down. We have not really heard much from the PGA of America since, other than Kerry Haig, I think, taking over as kind of acting CEO. And just it's very much worth a read. Look it up. Some anonymous sources in this piece just like really letting it fly, which I really enjoyed. They were talking about the chances of the PGA of America's current COO Craig Kessler, and just said, nah, he could be a good internal candidate, but quote, he just doesn't command a room when he walks into it. Just thought that was extremely funny. The 6 names that Shupak lists off that could be the next PGA of America CEO, according to him: Chip Brewer, CEO of Topgolf Callaway Brands; John Padani, Chief Commercial Officer of the USGA. He's already kind of worked in some high profile jobs at the PGA Tour and the LPGA. I think he was one of the guys that was up for the LPGA commissioner job. Dave Pillsbury is the CEO of Invited, which took me a while to remember that that's now the name of Club Corp. I forgot that they changed their name to Invited. He was a big time executive at the PGA Tour during my time there. I remember he ran Nike Golf for a while, ran PGA Tour golf course properties, ran championship management. I think it was kind of I think there were, 4 or 5 people all kind of vying for that replacing Tim Fincham role. And then I think as soon as it became, as soon as the tea leaves became clear that it was going to be Jay Monahan, I think he left and went and did something else. Jim Richardson, again, good anonymous quotes here. This was a former PGA of America president, current GM of Riviera. Quote, this is from the story. During his term as president, he was known for an abrasive personality, and one source said his hiring would be deemed, quote, polarizing. Quote, half his staff would leave before he started, source said. So not super promising there. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney, founder and CEO of Folds of Honor. I think that was just kind of one of those left field nominations that maybe some people were talking about. And then Susie Whaley, another former PGA of America president, currently the PGA director of instruction down in South Florida at the Country Club of Mirasol. I think the other one that was thrown out was Derek Sprague, who was a former PGA of America president. He now runs TPC Sawgrass. I think I saw Josh Carpenter post about that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. The big reason I think I bring this one up is just the PGA of America has been in the news recently. I think just with Ryder Cup ticketing prices and just kind of some really bad optics. And whoever this next hire is going to be the person who's in charge of putting a little bit of that back together. And I guess this is another one of those, I was on paternity leave and wasn't really on the pod to discuss, but part of my issue with the Ryder Cup ticket pricing thing was, I get all the econ majors who are like, hey, it's a free market and this is comparable and this is the comp sets that we have. This is in line with all that. Like I get all of that, and I get that people will buy them and they'll probably sell out all the tickets, yada yada yada. I think what's really tough about the PGA of America and the USGA, I kind of would lump into this as well, is like I don't ever know where that money is going. And I know intellectually and inherently like it's going to good places, the USGA especially. I know is doing all kinds of, grow the game initiatives. They're doing all kinds of turf grass initiatives. They're doing all kinds of things behind the scenes. And I just feel like they're painfully bad on both fronts at telling that story, to where like, yeah, man, like that's why people get pissed off when they see $750 tickets to the Ryder Cup, is because, you just, uh, the vibe that it puts off is just like, yeah, I guess it's going to go to all these kind of faceless
Right.
executives that are handing out the trophy at the PGA Championship, or and lump that in with like the whole squad going out to where'd they go, National Golf Links or whatever, when the PGA when the PGA was at Bethpage. Is that what it was? It just,
That was tough.
I don't know, just very tone deaf and doesn't do a good job of like the internal comm stuff, I think.
Yeah, Neil and I talked about that last week of just, the other side of it being like, are they trying to maximize potential for selling the event, potential
Yeah.
revenues to sell the event to PGA Tour Enterprises, and
Sure.
just the unavoidable stink of what's going on in pro golf and all that. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Did you on the more fun side? Did you play any golf this week? What's going on with new dad's golf game?
The haters and losers said it couldn't be done. I played twice this week.
Mm,
Unbelievable. Yeah, it was great. The weather's been a joke up here. I mean, it's just like low 60s, not a cloud in the sky. All the leaves have turned. I mean, it's like it's really, really, really good stuff. So yeah, kind of crazy week playing playing partners wise. But I got out Brian Anderson from TBS, Turner Sports, is a good buddy of mine here. He's kind of the only person I knew in Milwaukee when we moved here, and has since kind of introduced me to everybody almost that I know here, and just been an awesome friend. So don't get to play golf with him because he's usually making unbelievable sports calls, as we heard during the
Oh my
ALDS with the
goodness.
John Kenzie Noel and the
Big
David Fry home
Christmas.
runs. Yeah, he had an awesome postseason. So fun to see him. And then he invited me to play with this guy Craig, who works in baseball. Used to work here in Milwaukee, and they got a new job in Chicago this year. So yeah, I got to got to talk some ball with him. That was pretty fun. And then the other guy I play with a lot is another guy I met through BA, AJ Ellis, who Southern California fans may recognize as the former catcher of the Dodgers, but lives a very fun life raising his kids here just outside of Milwaukee. Post retirement, we play a ton of golf together because I don't have that many friends that don't have real jobs that can go play at odd hours. And I bring all this up only to mention that he's now beat me 6 times in a row. Like the first 2 times we played, we were both 6 handicaps. We had these like I think I won the last hole to tie the match the first time. The second time he won the last hole to tie the match. So we had this like epic 36 hole dead tie, no strokes match. And then since then he's just beat me 6 times in a row. So I thought I
Mm,
was gonna have this like really good lifelong kind of
rival.
sparring partner, and it's gotten out of control. And so I bring all that up to yeah, just give AJ a little bit of due for playing some nice golf. It's not good, but you know, we're gonna keep getting back on the horse as much as we can. So
Dad back yet?
some couple little tinges of the dad back, but nothing debilitating. Trying to help, head it off at the pass, trying to stretch, trying to do all kinds of things to really stay loosened up. So I've been okay.
I don't have to ask if you've been keeping up on the stat because I've been tracking you on the app. It's been some alerts going on.
Yeah, man, my stack progress was jarring.
Unbelievable.
I
Unbelievable.
s I started early on, and, the first assessment is like, "All right, let's just see where you're at, swing it as hard as you can, and,
No,
we'll see
seriously,
where you're at."
swing it hard, dude. Like,
Yeah,
we need you to swing it
exactly.
hard.
Yeah, quit joking around. And my max distance, is one of the numbers it splits up. It's like maximum potential distance was like 259 or something like
I
that,
think it was
which
like
is like,
232 or something for you.
my carry was.
Okay.
Max potential
Yeah.
distance was like 259, which is pretty close. I mean, I maybe hit it 5, 10 yards farther than that on the golf course if I catch one, but that's if we're being realistic, that's about what I was driving it. After like I think 4 or 5 sessions, it was up to like 310, just because I think it was making me really realize how terrified I am to actually like swing the club, and how much I have just been guiding my driver for a decade, fearing the two-way miss, probably exacerbating the two-way miss by trying to guide it. And yeah, I've just been able
If
to
you're
yeah,
watching on YouTube, I'm gonna flash up just on my phone, like, DJ's chart here just to show that he's not lying about the numbers that have come up, so
yeah, crazy. So yeah, I was cruising, 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 and then baby Charlie comes into the world, and all of a sudden we're
so
sleeping about 3 hours, and we're sleeping on the couch, and I'm like, all right, I'm not doing myself any favors by continuing this right now. So I hit pause, but I am about to get back into it. I'm gonna kick it back up this week. I'll start it tomorrow for you, Solly.
nice. Thank you. Appreciate that. I was so stoked because in between trips to the hospital, you were talking about sneaking a session in right after he was born. But I thought you were gonna maybe keep it going, but
I thought I was too, and
just doesn't
I
work
got
that
done
way.
with that session. I was like, okay, yeah, my body's just
It just doesn't work that way.
not there. So I don't know. I'm sure I would do myself a lot of favors by continuing it. Just like honestly, I get as much out of the warm up as I do
Yeah.
anything else, right? Just continually like stretching and moving and getting a little sweat going. But um, yeah, that's my week. What about you? You play any golf?
I played once, played on Friday. The weather here has also just been incredible. I took like 5 weeks off of playing golf, not by choice, just wildly busy nesting and getting work in a place that is ready for me to take some time off. I just shot a horrific 82. Like it was so bad. It wasn't even the back tees either. It was just so freaking sloppy. And I just haven't played much golf at all. And I played one round in the course of not playing a lot and played great and shot a 71. And I was just like, okay, I don't need to play a ton anymore. I got my stack in between sessions. I got this. And I just don't got it. I just don't have, I think I've hit balls 3 times over the last 3 months. and I just am in a bad place with my swing, and it's just Tim Aquana woke up since the last time I played it. The sleepy summer softness was just like I could kind of hit it anywhere and get it on the green and make easy pars. And now it's like, dude, you're aiming at dime size places on the green, and you better have the right spin coming into it. And if you're off, you're rolling off the green, and it just exposed your boy. Like we wasn't ready for that glow up. This is that fall period where like I still have my summer handicap, and I am just so freaking vulnerable right now. I think I'm plus 1.4, and anything under 80 would be a good round of golf on that course right now. And so I need to accumulate rounds, get rid of that, and that's absolutely not going to happen. So I'm just going to sit there at this inflated number for a long period of time. But I got some new
God,
wedges in the mail. As soon as like I was hitting some wedges into some of these greens and they weren't holding, I was like, I need some fresh grooves because the game done changed. We're playing real golf now. The fall and the winter is upon us down here. So
God, that's good. I need to get some get a match on the books with you. It sounds like the handicap and your game are just like both trending in the correct direction for me.
I
To
had
where
a just figured out who Kaiser Soze was dropping of the coffee mug of how things got off the mark for me, and it was tracing back to my wrist injury of like what that did to how I started rolling my hands inside and how I've been trying to undo that for like 3 years. Because I'm watching all these 2020 swings. I'm like, dude, I just freaking slotted that thing and you couldn't hit it offline. And I was like, why don't I do that anymore? I was like, oh my God, I'm just now realizing. I go through little periods where it doesn't bother me that much, but every time I take time off, I get back in these horrible habits that I'm just like, holy crap, that 100% has to be it. But
you and the Lynx Master,
I
Jordan
know
Speed,
that's probably
similar downfalls.
yeah. I can come up with if you let me keep talking, I'll come up with 6 more excuses why I'm just not good anymore. But
Did you tell the story about blowing that lead?
oh, I think I mentioned it, but club championship. So Timuquana is located right next to the naval base here in Jax, and every October the Blue Angels come. They come to the naval base one year, and they go to the beaches
I
one
know
year.
you're not gonna use the Blue Angels as an actual excuse here.
I'm putting for the win on the 14th hole in the first round of my match against a U.S. Mid-Am qualifier, a former club champ. This was going to be an upset, 4 up, and the Blue Angels are fucking barrel rolling down the 14th fairway, and I couldn't get like we played the day before during a practice
Was your
session.
heart rate too high? You couldn't
I
settle
literally
down?
couldn't get my heart rate down for the remainder of the day. I'm dead serious. No, I don't think you get how low they were flying. On the 15th tee, we had to back off because we were inhaling.
You want me to play back some of those, British Open live shows from the other day where they're flying over my house? I know how low they fly.
No, we were
Trust me.
literally inhaling the fumes on the 15th tee from these planes. Like it was just, and it never stops, and you don't know when it's gonna. Anyway, so like I three putted 14, I lost 15, I tied 16, lost 17, lost 18, and he made 100-foot putt from off the green on the first playoff hole with like 40 people from the club watching me blow the lead. And he went on to win the club championship. Shout out to Graham. Congratulations for it. But I had him on the ropes, and he ended up winning the whole damn thing. And it was an
Gosh.
epic choke. I mean, he played awesome. It was blowing 25, 30. I had a whole story ready for that too, because 12th hole, par 5. I'd lost 2 holes before that. I was only 2 up. I had 257 into the par 5, and it was downwind. And I was like, I go over that green way too often. And I was like, you know what? Like, trust the work you've put in on your distance here. Like, I went for 5-iron, and I hit a fucking 5-iron 260 yards, and it went in the middle of the green and held a firm green. And 2 putted for birdie, and I thought that was gonna be like, that's my story. I'm gonna tell in the pod for the stack and all this, and then I went and choked it. So
God, the Blue Angels excuse is an all-timer. That's sick.
I mean, it we joked about it too. He was like, I need something like you needed to throw some dirt in my eyes. Like we needed a variable. Sure enough, shoo! I would if I was 4 down, I would have wanted that to happen. I would have wanted something
Maybe he
crazy,
called
but
in the airstrike.
it might have been it. But
It's interesting. Well, good luck getting out this week.
thank
Maybe
you.
who knows? Maybe the kids will delay a couple days.
Who could say?
You can go flush the system a little bit.
Who could say? We
Uh,
got
uh,
some great shipments in the mail from FootJoy as well. These are
the
the
grounds
grounds
collect.
collection here,
Yeah,
which I called my shot on this one. I wanted to wear this one
I
on
know.
the
I
show
was gonna
tonight.
wear that hoodie, and you're like, "No, don't
No,
wear it. I
this is
already got
me.
it out." I got the beanie. If it's gonna, I don't know if the weather's gonna dip down low enough around here. It's like it's gonna be in the 70s next week. It's
Dang.
crazy. but I'm looking forward to putting the winter cap on from our friends at FootJoy. All right, let's start landing the Blue Angels here. Should we? I put this in here, a little extra credit session. And anything you want to shout out, some extra reading for anybody.
This seemed like it was made for me in particular. It involves strokes gained. It involves baseball. It involves tools, statistical analysis. Jamie Kennedy from Golf Digest had an article called "Who Are Golf's Five Tool Players?" Just looking at, obviously with baseball, hitting for power, hitting for average, running, fielding, throwing. Who are the guys that are above a standard deviation? I forget what metric you use, above 0.25 strokes gained putting, in all in five different categories. Who are the guys? And it was a great look, and I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but it's just great looking. Different guys' skill profiles, who actually the guys are that are able to separate, who's some are that don't separate themselves at all, like Eric Cole being a tool player was
I
interesting.
think Max Homa was a zero tool
Was he
player.
really?
I think so, which again is just kind of yeah, shows it's a very interesting look. I'm with you. I don't want to spoil it, but there was some just interesting insights on guys that, what it means to be kind of lopsided on one skill set, what it means to be balanced. It was cool.
Very.
And I think whatever you think the number is of how many five tool players are on the PJ Tour, I think you'd be shocked by the time you get to the end.
Yes, you would. I think I would have gotten that one actually though, because
Maybe.
that's the thing I've been touting with that one dude. So
I will shout out a friend of the program, Will Bardwell, his Lying For blog that he writes. He wrote an essay about Golspie golf course up in the Highlands of Scotland that I just freaking loved. I love reading about people. The outsiders going to Scotland is kind of one of the that is like
can't get enough.
Spotify would have that in my algorithm of like, we've identified that you enjoy things like this. It's always good. It reminded me a lot of Jim Hartzell's writing. It reminded me a lot of To the Lynx Land, Michael Bamberger's book that I love so much. Just really, really great. I would recommend people seeking that out. It was awesome.
And I mentioned this earlier, but the update State of Golf has made in terms of getting even more granular and just the representative going to a guy's profile and see what they're good at, see what they're not good at, see where things are going wrong. It's just never been easier. It's just, I know not everyone's into the strokes gain stuff, but like it's kind of strokes gain for dummies now. When you go look it up, you don't need to know the 1.45 just to know that like, oh, he's like the 98th percentile in that. He's very skilled at this, or this is going very wrong for this player. It just tells a great story that's additive to the cover, especially on a week where I didn't get to watch a lot of the golf.
Right.
Just like being able to go back in and see how guys' rounds flowed with that presentation was really interesting. So,
Totally. Anything on the non-golf front before we wind it down?
yeah, I'm kind of upset we don't get a World Series game tonight as we're recording here on Sunday
No, I
night. I'm
truly don't know what to do.
so deep in baseball playoffs; they've been incredible. We did a pod this past week on the Trap Draw, our Seamsters Union, kind of little subset with Brent Rooker from the Oakland A's, avid golfer, and just like I think you called him the Max Homa of MLB in terms of his future media possibilities. I was freaking buzzing off the walls after that pod. I think I listened back to it twice, just peppering him with questions on how things work. We threw some takes at him, had him evaluate our baseball takes, and just a fun dude to chat some ball with, and kind of reminded me of the early days of interviewing golfers of what's travel like out there? How does
I
this
know.
work? It was just a fun thing to do for a baseball fan to chat with him. So please check that out because it was a lot of fun.
I think, not that they need the plug from us, but I think he's doing some takeover stuff for
Yep,
MLB this week for Game 3 as well. He's
cooking.
been gotten a lot more active on X, formerly known as Twitter, just sharing all kinds of insights on, as he's been watching games. And yeah, he's great. Very funny, very the story that he told about Fernando Cruz's splitter, where I don't know why it reminded me so much of Neil, where he, it's this one of the top pitches in all of baseball, this like just disgusting splitter. And Brent talks about being in the box and figuring out like, oh my god, I just clicked. I just figured out how I can pick up the spin. I just figured out what's making it so good. I've got him. And then he said between that pitch and the next pitch, he forgot what it was. That's one of my favorite stories I think I've heard, golf or non-golf. I love that. Uh,
And on the take front on that, I'm going to put an entire league on the hot seat or on notice. The American League has a lot at stake on this little 3 games in New York. If it goes wrong, I think I can work my way back into a lot of my takes about the playoffs being spot on, and just maybe the American League was a bunch of frauds. We'll see. We will see.
I Yeah, I think these next 3 games are gonna be awesome. I think New York's coming back. I don't know if they're gonna come all the way back and win it, but I
You
think
worry
they're
about Judge? It's been really bad.
it's been bad. Yeah, I don't know.
Almost
I
as
don't
bad as Jazz, but, not as bad as Jazz, of course, but Judge is I mean, it's like a serious, serious problem.
yeah, I don't know. It's not good. It seems like I don't know. We'll see how much I know the Dodgers starting pitching gets a little thin, which means now you're going to get into the bullpen, which then you get 3 bullpen games in a row is going to be, we were talking about that a little bit with Brent too, but like the more you have to see these relievers in back-to-back games, that's where I think Judge is he's going to break out eventually against, he's going to see the wrong guy 2 times, 3 times. I think he's going to break out.
That was the glowing brain Aaron Boone move. Like, well, I mean, don't need to see Shohei doesn't need to see Tim Hill too many times. So I'm pitching Nestor Cortez with the season with the game on the
Super
line
that
here.
was I know, brilliant, and now he's just got the whole deck, he can play any card now. It's amazing. God, that was weird, wasn't it? And why did I don't get why Shohei was I don't know. I don't get why they let Canely face Shohei when it's just like, "No, I've thrown 60 changeups in a row, and it's righty lefty, and you're, like, definitely gonna hit one of these super hard."
The only thing I was listening to Rates and Barrels, they're talking about how the thing with Canely does have two different changeups, like they're a varying
The
amount of
speeds are yeah, it'd be like 83 and 86,
but
right?
they're
Or
varying
like
amount of movement. Like the
yeah.
profile of how they move is different, and it's just enough to keep guys off balance of if you're guessing on which one it is. But still, yeah, Otani was like, dog, that don't work in here.
Get the shit outta here.
Soto was playing like on the track, and it still got over his head and off the wall. I can't get enough. Shout out to again Rates and Barrels. Like they've just greatly enhanced my under like what I'm
Podcast.
watching now. What I'm watching. Also, John Smoltz like walking you through at bats of pitching and stuff that's going to happen. Holy shit, man! I'm just like I can't look away.
Yeah.
It's good content. So
Any, predictions you taking the Dodgers?
yeah, I don't think it makes it back to LA. I think it at
Really?
five at most.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think
I'll say Dodgers in 6. I'll say it goes 1 more.
the part of
Uh,
the reason why I was just anti Yankees was just like, dude, you got the two dudes, and Stanton has stepped up big time. But like, if one of those two dudes gets in a slump, like you are boned. And Judge being this bad and looking bad, like it's not like hitting the ball hard at guys. He just cannot hit a breaking ball low in the zone right now. Scouting report seems to be out, and it's just like, man, was he just feasting on bad American League pitching this past? That's what I'm saying. The whole league is on notice these next two games. I'm
so much
serious.
so much at risk.
I might be in the
Uh,
hospital texting you guys in my takes for the final Seamsters. So
I love it. Yeah, not much else. I had a quick RIP to Phil Lesh, bass player of the Grateful Dead. Many, many, many amazing tributes this week that can probably do a better job than this here golf podcast. But all I would say is, if you are a Grateful Dead fan, if you're not a Grateful Dead fan, just spend the next week listening. Picking out live shows, and just the thing that makes the Grateful Dead so fun is there's 5 6 instruments going on at once, and you can kind of pick one to focus on and just follow for 7 8 12 15 minutes at a time. And I think the most fun person to follow is always Phil Lesh. He is the one that makes it sound the way that it sounds and makes you dance the way you dance, and just a tremendous loss for the world of music and my favorite band. So a life well lived.
that's beautiful. I have no experience. I have nothing I can possibly say to that because I need you to teach. I need like a Grateful Dead 101 at some point.
Sure, we can
With
work on
all
that.
this free time that I
You
have,
know what? If you got a lot of watch the Amazon, it's a weird recommendation, but the Amazon like lengthy documentary does an awesome job, I think.
okay.
It's a big like I think it's 6-part documentary on kind of the history of the band and how they became what they are, both like literally and kind of philosophically, culturally, and it does a really good job.
Have you
So
watched
that would be
Have you
the
watched
101.
the Mr. McMahon documentary yet on Netflix?
I started it and fell asleep the other day,
Okay.
but I need to get back on it.
Neil recommended it. We were captivated by it. It was as somebody that did not watch pro wrestling.
I was deep in
Really?
it.
Oh,
I hate to
really?
say it. Yeah,
Who was your
deep.
guy?
I liked Sting for a long time. I was there for the whole Goldberg phenomenon. I was much more of a WCW guy during those formative
It
years.
gets into that.
I'm sure it
Yeah.
does. So yeah, I mean a lot of those guys.
Okay.
I'm kind of a front runner now that I hear myself say it out loud, but I was also, 10.
It's a big Undertaker guy. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right, that is going to wrap us. Deej, great to have you back. I don't think I'm going to get the chance to do this too often with you this fall, but great to catch up and empty the
Likewise, yeah,
notebook.
good to be here. Good to be here, and yeah, well, best of luck to you and Hannah, and bringing a couple, multiple additions into the world. Can't wait. The
You,
world needs
we don't
world
know.
needs
We
more
don't know if
Soly.
it's coming soon. I mean, it might be this week. It might not. Just for those, in case my family is listening, to this like, yo, why didn't you tell us? We don't know yet, but we're just playing the odds here. But thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll be back here this coming week. We'll have an interview. Of course, have a recap. There's no PGA Tour event next week. I don't believe, if I have my weeks correct, but we'll be back with a weekly recap next week and every Sunday throughout the rest of the year as well. So thanks for tuning in. See you back next week. Cheers.